$1,400 for a Mitchell's Tudor Black Diamond. You pay almost $10,000 for a Rolex. And a Royal Oak extra thin, it costs like $36,000. Cheap is not a word that applies.
Y'all should be seeing, Tisa, where are the watch manufacturers? I did some digging and I found the watch manufacturers. There is a new scandal coming out of the luxury watch division. Listen, if you want to keep going to Rolex, if you want to keep going to AP and spending your money, go and do that. However, industry insiders are coming out, and I have their videos. People have even been fired from it for lifting the hood away from the...
Jacob Arabo sat silently in his Manhattan office, the skyline casting long shadows across the showroom of diamond-encrusted watches. His phone buzzed nonstop. Clients, lawyers, journalists, all demanding answers. Less than 24 hours ago, a shocking exposé went viral, claiming that several of his most iconic timepieces, watches worn by billionaires and A-list celebrities, were not entirely Swiss-made as advertised. Instead, they were allegedly manufactured, wholly or in part, in a factory in Shenzhen, China. It began as a whisper in the watch forums. A former quality control engineer from a Chinese manufacturing plant leaked internal documents and photos showing near-identical Jacob & Company watch parts being produced on Chinese soil. The story gained momentum when a Reddit thread cross-referenced the leaked images with promotional photos from Jacob & Company's website. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. Soon after, an anonymous industry insider came forward, claiming that the watches were assembled in China and only finalized in Switzerland, just enough to meet the loose requirements of the Swiss-made label. Under Swiss law, 60% of the manufacturing costs must be Swiss-based to earn the title. But critics argued the label had become more of a marketing shield than a meaningful standard. When the story broke on international news outlets, outrage erupted across social media. Billionaire clients, including oil tycoons and tech moguls, began questioning the value of the watches they proudly wore at Met Galas and Monaco yacht parties. Private messages flooded Jacob's team. Some clients demanded refunds, others threatened legal action, and a few simply went silent, severing ties entirely. Behind closed doors, Jacob was livid. He claimed he had no knowledge of the deception, insisting that all outsourced production was strictly for non-critical parts and that his agreement with the Chinese manufacturer explicitly required full transparency and quality assurance. But the backlash was relentless. To regain control of the narrative, Jacob filed a lawsuit against the Chinese manufacturer, accusing them of violating their contractual obligations and damaging his brand's reputation. His legal team argued that the manufacturer had promised to supply only minor components, but instead had secretly replicated entire watch designs and sold them to third parties, flooding the gray market with near-perfect copies. While the lawsuit played out, whispers of deeper industry hypocrisy grew louder. Jacob's scandal wasn't unique. It was just the one that got caught. Watch insiders began hinting that many luxury brands exploit the Swiss-made loophole, using foreign parts and assembly lines while charging premium prices. Some journalists dug deeper, uncovering links between high-end Swiss watch brands and offshore production chains, hidden behind layers of shell companies. Jacob, once hailed as the jeweler to the stars, now faced the fight of his life. His empire was under threat and his legacy at risk. Yet in interviews, he maintained his innocence, stating he was misled like everyone else. He framed the lawsuit not just as a legal battle, but as a stand for authenticity in a corrupted industry. As the case moved to court, the watch world watched closely. Collectors, influencers, and even rival brands wondered, if Jacob & Company could be exposed, who would be next? Would this scandal mark the end of blind luxury loyalty, or would it be swept under the velvet carpet of PR spin? For Jacob Arabo, the answer remained unclear. But one thing was certain: trust once cracked doesn't tick the same way again.
95% of the world's watches are made here, including the one you're wearing right now. Many big brand watches are produced or sourced passed on here. This place is Shenzhen City, the world watch capital city. And in Shenzhen, you must not miss this.
That Rolex on your wrist? What if it's not what you think it is? What if that so-called Swiss masterpiece you shelled out 5 figures for was actually assembled under harsh fluorescent lights in a Shenzhen factory running around the clock? Because right now, the luxury watch world isn't just under pressure, it's coming apart. And China, they just pulled back the curtain. We're not talking cheap imitations. We're talking authentic materials, genuine parts, and production lines that might be closer to Rolex than Switzerland ever was. Now people are asking the question no luxury brand ever wants to face. If it's really Swiss, why does it scream Guangdong? Let's be clear, this isn't about counterfeit watches. It's about the real producers, the hidden networks, and a billion-dollar illusion that's finally being shattered. So, yeah, it's time to dismantle the myth, one exposed gear at a time.
Watches come in different sizes. A small dial makes your wrist slimmer, while a large one makes you a stronger error. First of all, you need to determine your budget range. The Rolex Datagest is the best choice for...
You imagine your Rolex being crafted in a peaceful Swiss village by a master watchmaker in a wool sweater, peering through magnifying lenses. Charming image, but pure fantasy. Because 95% of the world's watches are actually produced in China. And the epicenter? Shenzhen, the Silicon Valley of high-precision manufacturing. We're talking state-of-the-art facilities, churning out premium bezels, sapphire crystals, and polished steel links that don't just match Swiss standards. They often surpass them. Here's the kicker. These factories openly admit to producing parts for Rolex, Tag Heuer, and Omega. No secrets, no denial. They've got catalogs, price lists, and straight-up ordering systems. So when you spot a replica that looks eerily flawless, it might not be a fake, just missing the logo. Time to kill the illusion. That Swiss-made badge, it's not really about where every component comes from. It's about value. Only 60% of a watch's total monetary value has to originate from Switzerland. And what counts toward that? Marketing, final assembly, and maybe a last-minute polish in Geneva. So your entire watch could be built in China, shipped to Switzerland, have its movement dropped in and wiped with a cloth. And voila, legally Swiss-made. It's the most profitable illusion in the luxury world. And Rolex? They let the fantasy live on in silence, while you picture alpine villages and centuries of horological tradition. In reality, you're paying for image and narrative, not geography or true craftsmanship.
Go on, Fire Herald.
Why?
The watch is a fake.
What's fake about it?
According to the serial number,
It doesn't correspond.
This story didn't break in Forbes or GQ. It started in Reddit threads, YouTube rants, and, more recently, TikTok exposés. Former employees, contractors, and insiders started connecting the dots. Photos of Rolex parts matched listings in open-source Chinese factory catalogs. Movements shipped in bulk. Brand stickers added at the end. One vintage specialist says he was fired for questioning discrepancies in Swiss-labeled components. And he's not the only one. More whistleblowers are coming forward, and their message is loud and clear. This isn't some rare mistake, it's the business model. So why isn't mainstream media covering it? Simple. Advertising dollars. Luxury brands fund magazine covers, red carpet features, and glossy spreads. GQ, Esquire, Vogue, they're well compensated to play nice. Even influencers are locked in. Free watches, VIP trips, cash bonuses. Say something negative, and those perks vanish. So the press stays silent. But the truth? It's coming from TikTokers, factory workers, and independent creators with nothing to lose. And now that silence is turning into a scream. Rolex doesn't do discounts, or so we thought. Collectors began noticing 10 to 20% price drops on flagship models like the Submariner and GMT. No press release, no ad campaign, just quiet markdowns, mostly overseas in Europe and Asia. And the timing? Suspiciously close to those viral factory leaks. Rolex hasn't said a word, but luxury giants don't blink without reason. This wasn't strategy, it was damage control. They hoped a little price dip would calm the storm. Instead, it ignited it. And now the entire industry is feeling the heat. Because here's where it gets wild. Chinese manufacturers are now openly selling parallel builds. Not fakes, exact replicas. Built in the same factories, same molds, same parts. Just no branding. You can customize everything. Dial, crystal, bracelet. Want a no-logo Daytona clone? One message away. And these aren't shady alleyway deals. These watches are polished, boxed, sometimes even made from leftover OEM stock. You're not buying a knockoff. You're buying what Rolex started with, just skipping the markup. Welcome to the new black market. Telegram channels, WhatsApp vendors, factory reps going direct. This isn't piracy, it's disruption. So how much does it really cost to make a $10,000 Rolex? Insiders estimate around $1,500. That's 15% of retail. The rest? Marketing, distribution, brand image, and engineered scarcity. It's a machine, designed to print luxury, not prove it. Now compare that to transparent brands like Christopher Ward or Nomos. Rolex pushes 5x to 7x markups without explanation or apology. And why should they? They're not selling watches, they're selling status. Because a Rolex doesn't just say, I can afford this. It whispers something deeper. I've made it. I belong. It's a quiet handshake in a tailored room, a nod from across the boardroom. But the moment doubt creeps in, the illusion shatters. What happens when someone stares a little too long at your wrist, tilts their head, not in admiration, but suspicion? That confidence you once wore like armor, it cracks. You speak a little louder. You name drop harder. Yeah, picked this up in Geneva. You dodge when someone casually asks, where'd you buy it? You laugh it off, change the subject. But deep down, you're spiraling. Because replicas don't just fail technically, they fail emotionally. They might fool a camera, might pass on Instagram, but they don't fool you, and they don't fool real collectors. The lume fades too fast. The crystal scratches too easily. The bracelet links feel wrong. The movement ticks. It doesn't glide. Worst of all, you feel it. And once you know, every glance feels like a spotlight. It becomes a performance, checking angles, practicing wrist poses, wearing longer sleeves unless the lighting's perfect. You're managing anxiety, not enjoying luxury. You paid for status, but bought stress. Because no matter how flawless the replica, it can't replicate certainty. And that's what true luxury is, isn't it? Not steel or logos. It's confidence. The quiet kind that comes from knowing it's real, that it's yours, that you earned it. Replicas rob you of that. They turn pride into paranoia, turn a flex into a trap. Because luxury doesn't live in branding. It lives in peace of mind. And once that's gone, no crown can bring it back. So where do we go from here? You've seen the smoke. You've spotted the mirrors. Now you know, Swiss made doesn't always mean Swiss built. The same factories making 300 homages might also be crafting parts for your 20,000 grail. Exclusive often just means strategically limited. And luxury? It's more narrative than necessity. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Because once the illusion breaks, what's left is power, control. You're no longer a blindfolded customer. You're a conscious buyer. You know the markup. You know the marketing tricks. You know when something's real. And when it's playing pretend, maybe you still want the Rolex. Maybe you don't mind where it was built. Because now you know, and you are choosing it. That's not weakness. That's awareness. That's the real flex. Because in 2025, status isn't about flashing wealth at strangers. It's about knowing exactly what you bought, why you bought it, and not needing anyone's permission to wear it. Maybe you'll grab a homage that fits your budget. Maybe you'll wait and buy the grail from a verified source. Or maybe you'll realize that time tells the same story on a Seiko as it does on a Daytona. Whatever you choose it clearly. Choose it for you. Luxury no longer means being let in. It means kicking the door off the hinges and walking through on your terms. No shame, no secrets, no sugar-coated fairy tales. Just truth, just taste, just you.